All right, so I came across a disturbing article today that I wanted to cover. I think it's really interesting. It's actually pretty scary to see what is going on, and you can see by the title is long-term unemployment at post-pandemic high and straining workers and the economy. I read through this article, thought it was really interesting. So, what does it mean? Why are people that are unemployed struggling to find jobs, and what can you do about it, really, and how can you prevent it also? So, let's go over it. More Americans have been jobless for 6 months or more, a sign of the labor market's weakness ahead of the Federal Reserve's highly anticipated meeting this week. So, if you don't follow things with the economy, just a quick refresher. Basically, after the pandemic and the stock market soared, asset prices soared, the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, and the federal funds rate, and so they did that to slow down the economy. The intention behind it was to make things more expensive, to make assets more expensive, to make the cost of capital more expensive, to slow down the economy because the economy was too hot, and to basically slow down inflation. That was the main intention. And so we've been doing that for a couple of years now. And so what are the consequences? What are part of the consequences of that? Well, more Americans are facing stretches of unemployment of 6 months or more. A worrisome sign for the U.S. economy is what they're saying. But is it? Is it a worrisome sign? We'll talk about that. More than 1 in 4 workers without jobs have been unemployed for at least half a year. New data shows that number is a post-pandemic high and a level typically only seen during periods of economic turmoil. Interesting. And in all, more than 1.9 million Americans had been unemployed long-term in August. What that means is that they've been out of work for 27 weeks or more, a critical cliff when it comes to finding a job. That's nearly double the 1 million people who were in a similar position in early 2023. So basically, what it's saying is you've got basically 25%, 1 in 4 people that are have been unemployed for at least half a year. That's pretty crazy. And if we look at this graph, we can see that, like, how they tie it into recessions, right? And so basically what they're saying is that these have typically come after a recession. So you can see we're at 26% here. We hit 26%. So the shaded gray, right, is when we had a recession. And so we had a very short one during the pandemic. And then it went very high after that for obvious reasons. And if we look back in the 2007, late 2007, 2008 stock market crash, you can see that it hit in 2009, and then it just kept soaring. And then same thing after the tech bubble, and then it didn't quite hit 25%, but it hit 22%. So what this would suggest is that we had been in a recession, because recessions happen beforehand. And some might argue that we are. There's a lot of arguments that the economy is super strong, and it's as strong as it has ever been. But is it? I mean, asset prices are continuing to go higher and higher. Affordability is tanking. The average price of a home in the United States is over $400,000. Think about that. Over $400,000 for the average price of a home in the U.S. We got the stock market that's at all-time highs. So I would argue that because of inflation, affordability is at the worst that it's ever been. And now you add the rising length of unemployment for individuals. Excuse me. So let's dive in a little bit more, right? Because really the question becomes, what does this all mean? What do you do about it? How do you prevent it? And so they said we have a low hire, low fire environment. What does that mean? So not a lot of people are hiring, but they're also not firing. And that stagnancy means that there aren't a lot of new positions for people to move into. The probability of becoming unemployed has not gone up that much, but if you become unemployed, it's much harder to find a job. Now, there's another site here, and I would argue that if I share this is all the layoffs. So this is a layoff tracker. September 15th, FIS 133. September 13th, 650, B&Q. September 12th, oil company OMV plans to cut around 400. Welsh, 500. Novo Nordisk, 9,000 jobs. And you can see all of the layoffs. 9,000, 3,500, 650, 650, 3,000, 3,000, 4,000, 3,000, 1,000, right? So this is significant. Actually, I just recently learned about a very, very, like a luxury bowling alley called Pinstripes that is in the Orlando area. A really nice spot. They just opened up like a year ago. They had to have put, I don't know, $5 million, $5 to $10 million into the build out of this giant place where you could eat dinner, bowl, and they just closed. They filed for bankruptcy. So the question is this a sign of something bigger? Is this a sign of trouble in our economy? I guess we'll find out. For you, my advice would be start to prepare. Start to lessen your lifestyle, save more money, right? And people are doing this. I mean, consumer confidence has gone down. Save more money and maybe start a business on the side. I mean, we're seeing individuals coming to us at Franchise Empire. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Franchise Empire, and we help people find and acquire franchises. And we're seeing a lot of individuals want to get out ahead of this. They're reaching out to us saying, hey, I'm seeing people being laid off around me. I'm starting to see the writing on the wall. I want to get a step in front of it. So they're reaching out, and then they're buying franchises and getting them up and running. And either they're just saying, I'm going to take control of my destiny and I'm going to go ahead and leave before I get fired, or they're saying, let me get something up and running in case I get fired. And you don't have to buy a franchise. You can start any sort of business, but I would recommend creating an additional source of income. And while you're still working, save it all. Because they'll talk about what's been happening in this article if you don't save it. So 6 months of unemployment often signals a turning point in a person's job search, according to economists. They probably run out of unemployment insurance benefits and severance payments by then, leaving them on a shakier financial ground. People who have been unemployed for more than 6 months are also more likely to become discouraged and stop looking for work altogether. There's a lot of great stories that happened after the 2008 crash of people looking for jobs, not able to find it, say, you know what? I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to start a consulting company. I'm going to start XYZ company. And you've got a lot of successful businesses that are around today that started after the that stock market crash and the recession. Someone on our team said this today, Mark, our head of brokerage, and he said this phrase after we were talking about this article. I thought it was brilliant. He said, you never want to benefit from someone else's misfortune, but if there's more misfortune, you might as well benefit from it. I was like, that is brilliant. And these are real people struggling, having a hard time. It's sad when you really think about it. The data shows how broadly the job market has cooled ahead of the Federal Reserve's highly anticipated meeting this week when policymakers are expected to lower interest rates for the first time this year. So basically, there's a whole big thing about the Federal Reserve expected to lower interest rates, and if they do that, that'll stimulate the economy more and more. 2 months of weaker than expected job numbers, including widespread revisions, have led policymakers to voice concerns that the labor market could continue deteriorating. So what the argument is that with interest rates high, that slowed down the economy enough, businesses aren't hiring. And so in order to re-stimulate the economy, get companies hiring again, get companies investing again, taking out loans and capital, excuse me, we need to have lower interest rates in order to do that. That is the argument overall. But, what is a giant factor here? AI. This is something that cannot be accounted for in any of the past historical data, is that companies are laying off hundreds and thousands of people because of AI. AI is replacing individuals' jobs, and it will continue to. And as AI advances, it will continue to get worse. I've made another video about this that we'll drop down below about how AI is replacing jobs, and that one of the best things that you can do is figure out how to use AI to your benefit. So if you can go to an employer and say, I am on top of my game, I know how to use this AI platform, this AI platform, this AI platform, and here would be my plan to utilize it in my role to become even more effective, you're going to have the opportunity, you're going to have a higher likelihood to get a job, essentially. Because like for us, we want to hire people that are familiar with using AI. It is a hack. It is a shortcut. So since 1950, the long-term unemployment rate has exceeded 25% in only a few other instances, and always after a recession. For 1 month in June 1983, after an inflation-fueled recession for an 8-year stretch following the Great Recession in 2009, and for about a year or half during the coronavirus pandemic. So this would suggest, what they're suggesting by this is saying that we were in or we were coming out of a recession. I would say that they're suggesting that with that phrase. And although unemployment rate is 4.3% near long-time lows, many employers have frozen hiring as they wait to see how new tariffs and other economic policies will affect business. Layoffs are rising too, with weekly claims for unemployment insurance reaching the highest level since October 2021. So overall, the unemployment rate is not bad. It's near long time lows, but companies are not hiring. So we'll see what happens. I mean, companies are waiting to see what's going to happen with the tariffs. How's that going to impact the economy? Or is the Federal Reserve going to raise interest rates? And for the unemployed, it's becoming increasingly difficult to find new work. Now take an average of 6 months, a month longer than before the pandemic. And for the first time in 4 years, there are more unemployed people in the United States than there are job openings. This is an anecdote from this guy. I have 15 plus years in IT. I thought I should be able to step into any job, said Steve Beal, 47, has been unemployed since March 2004. Wow. When he was laid off from a 6-figure job at Best Buy's corporate office. But so far, I've applied at least 300 jobs, and it's all rejections. Even with referrals, networking, resume services, I haven't gotten anywhere. We're seeing that. We have hired 10 people this year at Franchise Empire. We are just incredibly grateful. God is good to be growing. And so we've gone from 2 employees in January to we have 12 now, and then we have like 15, 16 people on our team total with the different contractors that we have. But where I was going with this is for some of these roles that we're posting, especially these remote roles, because it gives us the best opportunity to get the best talent, not limiting it to the area that we're in, hundreds and hundreds of applications. I've made another video about when I was hiring for our director of operations, got over 400 applications for that role. It's crazy, guys. And so separate data this week show that Americans' confidence in their ability to find a new job is at a record low. A survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that people say there is less than a 45% chance they could find a job in the next 3 months if they were suddenly to become unemployed, which is the lowest reading since the survey began in 2013. And they continue to tell more and more stories about individuals and how they're running out of money and behind on rent. And it's sad. So the takeaway is this, is to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself, get out ahead of it, start a business now, start saving up money now, get a second job now, put yourself in a stronger financial position. And maybe it's the opportunity to become an entrepreneur. For some people, that's the path. You get to control your fate and destiny. Some people, this will force them into the path of entrepreneurship. But I truly am a believer that, there are blessings in disguise. And if you figure out a way to benefit from and better yourself from a situation, you can. You can come up with an empowering meaning really from any situation and circumstance that happens. I know that may sound tough or ridiculous, or you can think of the most heinous examples to combat that. But the most powerful and inspiring stories I've seen, individuals who have gotten laid off use it as an opportunity to finally start their business. They got laid off and they use it as an opportunity to spend more time with their family. Individuals that have had tragic accidents, become paralyzed, lost limbs. They wind up not letting it hold them back, going into the Special Olympics, contributing to others, making a difference. So, of course, we don't wish this on anyone, but there's no but. Use it as an opportunity to put yourself ahead of the curve and to figure out, how can something good come from this? So I just wanted to share this with you guys. It's sad to see what's happening, but again, this is the opportunity to prepare yourself and really put your fate in your own hands. So if you enjoy videos like this, let me know so that we can make more of them. And I'm thinking about making more and more content around current events and news that is happening, just to keep you guys updated and figure out how you can really tactically benefit. We've got all sorts of videos on this channel of different business opportunities. By the way, if you're wondering like, hey, what business should I start? I'll leave a playlist or a video right here on videos that you can watch around what type of businesses to start if that's something you want to pursue. See you on the next one.